Chapter 5 Growing Up by Justin Rosales. Now, remember, we wrote this book over 10 years ago and working on an updated edition. And if you want to check it out and get updates for when that happens, check out the link in the description. When I was younger, I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. Honestly, I still don't have a plan. However, I feel that's what makes me who I am today. There are a lot of things that happened to me throughout the years that have shaped my perspective, my character, and determination. I guess a good place to start would be my childhood. I grew up with a normal family. My brother Preston and I were born in Miami, Florida. We moved to Pennsylvania after Hurricane Andrew destroyed our home. Our first move was to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, where my next brother, Julian, was born. We stuck around Philly for about a year before moving across the state to Sharon, Pennsylvania. My mom and dad moved us to Sharon so that we could be closer to our grandparents. When I first arrived, I was about 5 years old. A few years later, my parents had three more children. Their names are Brandon, Christian, and Natalie. I was the oldest, and Natalie was the youngest. Everyone assumed that she'd become spoiled with five older brothers, but they were wrong. She is now one of the most caring and considerate women I know, and we're blessed to have her in our family. It wasn't easy being the oldest. I always had to keep an eye on my siblings when all I wanted to do was honestly play video games. As much as I wish I had been doing anything else, it taught me a lot. It gave me responsibility. I felt like it was my job to be a good example to my younger siblings. Although sometimes I made mistakes, my intentions were always pure. Okay. Growing up in a household of five other kids can get pretty hectic, especially when living in our small ranch house in Sharon. When we first moved in, there were only five of us. 3 kids later, we were short on bedrooms. I learned how to be a very social person from always being surrounded by others. In the long run, it was worth all of the chaotic screaming and yelling from my siblings as they played video games together. At the time, I couldn't understand how my parents put up with it. My dad has been a car salesman for almost all of the years that I lived in the house. Growing up, I felt like he blamed me for everything, like I was the only one to ever get in trouble. I remember him telling me on multiple occasions, it's your responsibility to act mature. You should know better because you're older. A lot of the time, I would feel a lot of angst toward my father. I constantly told myself, I never want to be like him. Actually, I may have told him that as well. Now, I realize that everyone has their own flaws and that my father's intentions were to give me responsibility, to help me become more successful. I know I won't grow up to be like him because he's unique. He raised 6 children and was willing to sacrifice all of his time to make sure that we were able to live life happily. We were nowhere close to wealthy, but we never would have survived if it weren't for my father's dedication. During his many hours of driving back and forth to work, my father would listen to inspirational speakers like Tony Robbins and Jim Rohn. On Sundays, he would make us listen to several of their seminars, and we hated it. But now I admire his perseverance and understand his purpose in doing all of that. He was trying to give us the knowledge that we needed to become successful if he should ever pass away. I now see it as the greatest gift he has ever given us. Suffice to say, my dad didn't do it all alone. Throughout my lifetime, my mom has always been there as my guardian angel. I believe she is that way to all of us. During my earlier years, she was the typical stay at home mom. She picked out our clothes, tucked us in, said our prayers, and even made us whatever food we wanted because we were always all so picky. She was always willing to go out of the way to make sure that we were happy. When my parents lived in Miami, my mom worked as a nurse, but she gave it up to spend more time with the family when she became pregnant with me. Around the year 2000, my mom wanted to become active again. She wanted to help raise money for the family, but still be there for us. So she decided to do something that the family could enjoy while still making money. She began her own business called Party Zone for Kids. It all started with one moon bounce, also known as a bouncer, that she rented out to families. And as the business grew, she bought 14 more bouncers, cotton candy machines, popcorn machines, snow cone machines, and a facility to store the equipment and have parties at during the winter. Now averaging over 300 parties a year, Party Zone for Kids is a stable business that provides for the community as well as our family. My mother has always been our hero and the person that we go to with our problems. I'm really proud of my mom for putting up with everything we put her through. Now that the business is stable, she has returned to nursing school to become a registered nurse. We will always cherish the lessons she taught us. Even though she will one day pass on, the love she gave to us will never cease to reflect in our actions. As you could probably tell, my parents had an incredible impact on my life. Although I never had set a goal, I knew the type of person that I wanted to become. Ever since I could remember, my mom would always tell me, anything's possible. She would also tell me that if I could simply think of an idea, then I would be able to find a way to make it a reality. Each night before I went to sleep, my mother would whisper the following phrase into my ear: if you can learn how to use your mind, anything is possible. That phrase continues to resonate in my mind every second of every day.